Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Seaside Sessions. I've had a hiatus of a bit, what with vacations and all, but good to be back talking to you again, even if just virtually. So, though we finished with the Mr. Rogers unit for the summer, and today we're going to begin to explore a topic that we will continue with throughout the fall. We are going to explore miracles, engaging in the mystery and the wonder that surrounds us, and thinking about miracles to find our own personal truth and meaning. It's very human to explore and ponder all that is miraculous in our worlds. Our first and closest source of miracles is our direct experience. And we're going to consider what we think is miraculous and investigate the miracle of life on earth through stories. So what does the word miracle mean to you? What makes something a miracle? We are all going to have our own ideas about exactly what a miracle is based upon what is important to each of us. But something I think we can all agree is a miracle for sure is our very existence, right? And the existence of all the living things around us. I think you would agree this is definitely a miracle and very mysterious as well. Today we're going to hear a couple creation stories from various cultures. Now you all, I am presuming, know the creation story from Genesis in the Bible pretty well. So in the interest of time, I'm not going to actually read through it, though I thought about it, but I don't think it's necessary. But do keep that in mind as I read through the other creation stories. I'm going to start with a story about how Maui and Pele made Hawaii. And this is a retelling of a Hawaiian legend. The god Maui was the smallest but smartest of his brothers, who often made fun of him because he couldn't fish very well. Sometimes Maui would go out on a boat with his brothers, distract them when they had a fish on the line, and steal the fish from them, claiming it as his own. But soon his brothers caught on and wouldn't let Maui fish with them any longer. Maui's mother, taking pity on him, told Maui to go and fetch a magical hook fastened to the heavens. When the hook catches land, it will raise the land from the bottom of the sea floor. When he got the hook, Maui begged his brothers to take him just once more. He wanted to prove he was the best fisherman of all. Maui cast his line into the sea, and soon enough, he hooked it on land. The sea began to move, and great waves rose all around them. Maui commanded his panicked brothers to paddle harder and harder and not to look back. Maui pulled and pulled, and soon mountaintops began to rise from the ocean. But one of Maui's brothers was too curious, and he looked back in awe at what Maui had done. The spell was broken, and the magical line broke, leaving only the mountaintops visible above the ocean. And that is how the Hawaiian Islands were born. There were only mountains then until Pele brought her fire to Hawaii. Now, Pele was born from the supreme beings, Papa or Earth Mother, and Wakia, Sky Father. Pele was among the first voyagers to sail to Hawaii from her homeland, Tahiti, in a canoe, guided by her shark god brother. Pele saw a high mountain with a cloudy haze hiding its peak, and she knew she had found her new home. She named the island Hawaii. Pele, carrying her magic stick, went up the mountain where part of the earth collapsed into the ground. She placed the stick into the ground, and fire began to erupt from the mountain. Pele called this place Kilauea. Inside Kilauea crater was a large pit. She named it Helemaumau. Let's see if I can get this one. Helemaumau. And this would be her new home. A cliff on nearby Kilauea Mountain is sacred to her eldest brother, king of the sharks and keeper of the gourd that held the waters of life. Out of respect for this brother, to this day, Pele never allows clouds of volcanic steam to touch this cliff. Pele still lives in Hawaii, where she rules as the fire goddess of volcanoes. The smell of sulfur reminds the natives that she's still there in her home. Her fiery lava building, a new island to the south. Their fiery lava building is building a new island to the south, though still submerged, named Loahai. Those present whisper in awe. Aya, Laya Pele, there is Pele. So note that in the story, Maui did not pull up and create an entire continent, but with this fishing hook brought up just the tips of the mountains to create islands. The fact that Hawaiians live on islands is a very important part of their culture. And as are volcanoes, as the volcanoes that make up the Hawaiian Islands are active volcanoes. And this is why Pele is such an important part of the story. So the next story I'm going to read is appropriate for the just past Indigenous Peoples Day. It's from the Cherokee people, and it's about how a grandmother spider brings the light. When the earth was first made, it was very dark, and the animals were afraid. One day, Bear said, "I have seen a light on the other side of the world, but the people will not share. Perhaps we could steal some for ourselves." The others thought this was a splendid idea and started to discuss who should go first. "I'll go," said Fox. So Fox went and stole a piece of light in his mouth, but it was so hot it burned his mouth and he dropped it, and the fox still has a black mouth to this day. Possum tried next. He wrapped the light in his tail and tried to drag it back, but it was too hot and he dropped it. That is why no possum has fur on its tail. Next, Crow said, let me try. And he went off to steal the light, but when he got close, it singed all his feathers and he turned back. He was so afraid he ran away. Finally, Grandmother Spider said, "I will go." When she reached the light, she was surprised by how hot it was. She thought of a plan and began to spin and spin with her silky web. Soon she had enough for a bag. She approached the light and quick as a flash, tucked the light into her bag. When she got back, the animals were triumphant. "Hooray for Grandmother Spider," they all shouted. Grandmother Spider was happy to give them the light. "We should hang the light in the sky so all can be warmed by it," she said. The other animals thought that too was a good idea, but how to get it in the sky? "I will go," said Vulture. He took the bag of light and put it on his head. It was hot, but he could stand it. He flew higher and higher until the bag got hotter and hotter. He climbed higher and his feathers turned black. Still higher and the feathers on his head burned off. Still higher and his head turned red. At the last possible second, he threw the light to the sky as hard as he could, and the sun hung bright and beautiful, warming all the land. Now in this story, a tiny little spider is the one who solves the problem they're trying to figure out. And she did this by thinking creatively. And this demonstrates that no matter what our size, if we use our smarts and are creative, that we can do things that, even if we're small. The story also explains many other things besides how the sun came to be in the sky, right? It explains why many of the animals around us are as they are today. Finally, I am going to tell you about the Big Bang Theory. I'm sure you're already familiar with it, but I want you to think about in the context of miracles. Even in our modern times, we are still searching for the answer to the miracle of life and our place in the universe. Science can propose a theory that seems logical and correct, and it can be backed up by many years of research that proves more and more conclusively that the Big Bang Theory might be the right answer. And yet nobody knows where that matter that the Big Bang started with, where that came from in the first place and how the universe really came to be. So in 1927, a Roman Catholic priest and scientist George Lemaitre proposed what later became known as the Big Bang Theory of the origin of the universe. And I did not know until I was preparing this lesson that a Roman Catholic priest was a part of the ones who proposed this theory. So that was interesting to me. And this was based on the work by Edwin Hubble, who the Hubble telescope is named after. And he had theorized and then proved that the universe was getting bigger and bigger. Many scientists have discovered other evidence that confirms this theory might be correct. And the Big Bang is thought to have happened 13 to 15 billion years ago. Big Bang theorists are called cosmologists because they study the cosmos. They tell us that before the Big Bang, the entire universe fit into a space that would make a grain of sand absolutely huge. So tinier than a grain of sand. And everything that exists, from the blade of grass to Sirius, the dog star up in the sky, it all fit into this very, very tiny space, all compacted together. Suddenly, there was an explosion, and the universe began to spread out, expanding at the speed of light, which is 186,000 miles per second. The universe continues to expand today. And no one is sure when it might end, but it's estimated to be billions of years in the future. The Big Bang Theory does not explain how the universe began or where all the stuff in it comes from in the first place, or how it was created. Scientists are certain that the universe has a beginning, but are not certain what that beginning was. Science does not and can't yet explain or describe the beginning, only the general evolution of our universe from a possible point in time. So there is still much mystery left. So what I want you to take away from this lesson is what a miracle life itself is. Think about it. How cool is it that you're alive and that you're surrounded by so many other wonderful living things? You may have had a rough day today when you're watching this. Maybe someone said something mean to you, or you didn't play as well for your sports team, the game as you would have liked, or maybe you're missing someone that was dear to you that you lost. And yet, in spite of all this, you're alive. And that very fact in itself is pretty cool. This thing called life in and of itself is pretty amazing. And that we get to experience it in so many different ways. In spite of all the troubles it can bring, it's definitely a miracle, and we should be humbled by, and for which is a miracle that we should be humbled by, and for which we should be grateful. So that's it for today. Have a great week, and we will talk more about miracles in the next video. Bye.